What's up, guys? Welcome to Fitter Food Radio. This is episode 194. I can hardly believe it. And of course, it's me, Matty Boy Whitmore, and Keris Marsden, looking very blonde today, Keris.
Admiring your cleavage.
The cleave.
Yeah.
This is the toaster mista cleave.
Oh, it is.
That's a ham and cheese toasty in Portuguese, although I'm sure my pronunciation needs work.
Probably.
But I've gone to town on the toaster mistas, haven't I, this week?
Indeed. Because you don't have one, you have two.
Double bubble.
And they're big.
Not always. That's why I get two, because you never know.
Case.
Just in case. And then, and then you're safe, aren't you?
True.
Because it's better to have too many than not enough.
Just in case. I've never seen you take any of it home though and go, I'm full.
Never. And it will never happen. If it does,
you're defeated.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
He's like, he must be sick. He must be ill.
He's got indigestion. It's gone wrong.
Yes. It was my birthday this week, and Keris took me away for a few days, didn't you?
I did.
It was lovely, as always. And I think I've eaten enough carbs to last me a month in the last few days.
You got some big runs planned.
I have, thankfully.
Its glycogen is fully replenished.
Yeah, it is well and truly full, but bursting at the seams. So I better get running.
Have you ever been full?
Of course I have. You know I have.
No, I don't think I have ever seen you go, I think I'm full. I'm turned down.
There's
I'll turn that.
Probably count it on one hand.
I've seen you turn down food because you're kind of polite. I've seen you do that. Or you're like, I'm going to eat them out of house and home if we're at guests, like someone's house. But I've never seen you say, I think I'm full. You've said you're bloated.
No, I've definitely been full.
Thing.
There's been a few Christmases, you know.
There's been about 2 occasions in my life when I've been full.
No, there was an incident recently. Do you remember I said to you, and I was like, oh my God, like I feel 7 months pregnant. And I was just like, whoa, God, I'm so full. I can't remember where we were.
The other thing I've seen you do is drink loads of water at a meal, and then out here, especially when it gets too hot, and then you glug like you're doing. And then you'll drink all of that in one, and then you'll go, oh, I feel a bit rough.
I do need to get better at spreading my water intake out, for sure. I'm a glugger, and it's not good. It's not good. But what I find out here is like, it's almost, and this isn't to rub it in, by the way, on the how hot it is, but I think like even though we've been here a handful of months now, we still underestimate how much we're sweating, you know, even when we're just doing normal stuff, like day-to-day stuff. And even when you'll be like sipping on water throughout the day, and we both say this, don't we? We get to a point in the day where we're like, bloody hell, I can't stop drinking.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're just like glug, 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 glug. And then you go to bed and you feel like the ocean swishing around in your stomach.
And you regret it with your 4th trip to loo in the night.
Like, damn it.
There used to be someone who used to say, I think it was Matt Lovell, the nutritionist, and he had a great tip where he was like, pint of water on the bedside table, drink that as you're getting dressed, and then try and do like a pint across the morning, a pint across the afternoon, and scale back from about 4 or 5 o'clock, and try not to drink too heavy around your last meal, because you've already got food in your lower stomach from the day. Do you see what I mean? So then that's how you end up with like bloating and nighttime issues. This is kind of relevant to what we're talking about, because I think it becomes a problem as you age. Because everything is a bit slower, isn't it? Generally, like digestion is just, you're more prone to indigestion, you're more prone to bloating, constipation, and those sorts of things with lower hormone levels. Some people it speeds up, some people it slows down. Sometimes it's like intermittent between the two. But I've definitely noticed I have to be really careful about the speed I eat, the speed I drink stuff. Like otherwise you're just constantly like, it's just repeating on you all the time, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, no.
You've got this to look forward to as you get older, because I'm a bit ahead of you on that.
You are a little bit, actually.
You are almost 40 now.
I'll be in the 40 club soon.
Yeah.
Well, you got planned for my 40th.
You're going to get fit for 40.
Cheeky bastard. Fitter, you mean?
Fitter.
I'm going to get even fitter for 40. It's funny, I was having a chat with a mate of mine the other day around this, and it was like, oh, you know, like, are you going to still be fit at 40? And I'm like, well, I'm 39 and I'm pretty fit, you know. I don't think I'm in bad nick.
No.
You know. So
I watched This is 40 on Netflix the other day. I just love that film. I think I could watch it like once a year, and it's just it's still so relevant. Like just seeing all the midlife crises that take place, and the personal training scene is just gold.
Oh yeah, that is amazing actually.
I think I just love Leslie Mann is an amazing actress anyway, but I saw her on something else, and again, this is related to what we're going to talk about aging. She's in, I think it's called The Other Woman, where her husband's having an affair. You remember I made you watch it once.
Yeah.
I rewatched it when I'm feeling a bit rough. Sometimes I'll rewatch films that I feel good films, and she starts to wake up with like brain fog, and she's getting older, and she's like, I think I need to go to brain camp. But her husband's like, what's brain camp? And she's like, a desert island where you go and plug in some headphones, and then your brain gets like recharged, and then you come home from brain camp, and basically you're like, oh, I'm back to got my young like faculties back. And it just made me laugh, because it's like I've definitely felt that as I've got older. I'm like, oh my god, recall, memory, like just need to start doing some more brain training, or like but learning a language or something. Like it really is so important actually to lose that.
It is but sharpness. Also I have noticed this week, as I mentioned earlier, I've been a lot more flexible with my diet. I mean, I've been terrible in the grand scheme of things, I've still been eating.
You're looking at me for reassurance. I don't mind.
Have I? Was I that
have
bad?
I been terrible?
But I did notice yesterday I was almost like, I think because like quite a lot of sugar, bit of booze, and yes, I don't know, I almost felt like my brain wasn't firing on all cylinders. You know what I mean? It felt like it was a little bit,
yeah. Oh yeah,
it felt like it was just lagging a bit, and I was a bit like, right,
brain.
I'm ready to.
It did make me laugh when we were sat on the beach and you'd just eaten 2 Tostomistas, giant Tostomistas. They were big, and that was the best one you'd ever had.
Oh my days, the best 2
It
I've
was in
ever
a bread
had.
shop, wasn't it? And they were baking it. We saw this big queue, and we knew it'd be good because the queue was massive. So obviously had a reputation, and you got 2 of these big Tostomistas, and then we went to the beach, and then you said to me a bit later, you went, I was like really proud of myself on the beach today that I didn't have is it a bolos de Berliner? That's the Portuguese. It's a Berlin cake, isn't it?
It's like a donut with like egg custard inside.
Yeah, loads of
custard. So good.
And I was like, how would you even have room for that after you'd eaten 2 giant cheese toasted sandwiches? It's like, I don't know. And you were like, yeah, I'll skip the cake on the beach. Like,
even though it was my birthday.
Most of us would like love.
Yeah.
Like, one of those things would be amazing. You get to skip it and feel proud.
I was very proud of myself.
I didn't eat my body weight in cake and bread.
They are amazing. Yeah. If anyone hasn't tried them, get involved.
Really
we should probably start a podcast though.
We are. Just talking about aging, and how you don't seem to be aging at this point in time. You're still getting away with murder, apart from the carb brain.
Apart from the carb brain, I don't know. You get a lot of compliments about that you don't look your age, but no one says that to me. So I must look my age.
You get told you don't act your age.
Oh, charming. Maybe that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
I look my age now. I've got that aging app. You remember where I did? Do you remember that? Where I was going to do a post. I've done a few posts on aging on Instagram, but I've got the app, and I actually did the whole thing where you fast forward. Do you remember? We did me and you look like Paul Robinson from Neighbours, like unbelievably like Paul Robinson from Neighbours. To the point I put it out to Instagram, and I was like, can everyone see it? And
I didn't like it.
People were absolutely pissing themselves, but I just look like jowly, man. It keeps giving me these big jowls, and it's like I want to age gracefully. I don't want to resort to surgery. I want to do everything like let nature take its course. But my god, those jowls, I'm chopping them off. They were literally like hanging down, and it keeps coming up on my phone. When apps just suddenly, if you walk in and your phone is basically not locked, and then suddenly this picture of me like 70 just popped up on my phone, and it was just horrible. It was like, but yeah, I'm determined. My main thing as I age is I cannot even tell you how much I want functional movement and joint health. It's just the most, and sphincters. I've said this before to you. I want all my sphincters working.
Yeah.
They are the most important things. Without those, there is no life. It's so hard.
Okay, if you had to choose though between
sphincter and joint,
what would it be?
Oh, it's tough, man. It's really tough. It is tough. It's all muscle at the end of the day. So this is why we say, like, eat the protein and basically support muscle function, and don't let your body waste, because
sphincter gains.
Sphincter gains, yeah.
That's our new 28-day program, people.
In fact, we were getting her on the podcast actually. There's an amazing women's health physio that I've seen, and she did all of the content for my Empowered Menopause Health, which is basically 8-week course working through menopause, but with all the different experts that I used beyond nutrition and exercise. So that's there obviously, but I needed advice on hormone replacement therapy. I needed advice on like pelvic health and even hair loss. Because HRT can make your hair fall out, and it kind of was making mine. And when I tried testosterone therapy, I noticed it kind of increased, like, it's called female pattern balding now. So it's like used to be male pattern balding, but it's now female pattern balding. Anyway, and that worsened with me. So just to kind of backtrack, anyway, I visited lots of different experts about all of the ways that to kind of maneuver through perimenopause, menopause. But the women's health physio was really interesting because she said there's this idea as we age that we should be doing like Kegels, like really training pelvic floor and doing lots of clenching and things like that. And she said, actually, for most people, including men, it's not what they need. If anything, some people are too tight because that's where you carry stress, or you've just sat and you've been very sedentary and you haven't, these muscles aren't working like they should be. A bit like, if you sit for long periods of time, your hamstrings are screwed, aren't they? Like literally, look, we've got clients who do nothing and are like, my hamstrings are so tight. Oh, it must be the one run I've did in 2022.
I always feel like,
and it's sitting because they shorten as you sit.
But even like if we've just done a long drive, when you first get out of the car,
and to be fair, even hips you can feel awful, can't they?
And that's just for like a 3-4 hour drive, which for us, like, it's not that we do that every day. I couldn't bear the thought of being at a desk all day.
No, and like it's nightmare on your hip flexors. And that's why people are doing kind of stand-up desks and obviously like walking desks and stuff. But she actually said most people need to, and I love this phrase, drop and flop. So like most people should be doing a lot of like relaxation of the pelvic floor and even like a lot of digestive issues. So some of the clients I work with, we've actually, and this is men and women, we've actually explored like root cause of everything from constipation to reflux to even kind of like colitis, and bowel issues generally can be linked to like really like a load of tension in the pelvic floor. And when people think about it, this could be where you really carry stress. And then if you do this for decade upon decade upon decade, this is when you get to your 40s, 50s, 60s, it becomes a health issue. Whereas before, I do think we're just like invincible in our 20s, like the crap I did and the crap most people did and the way our bodies still functioned. But by 30, 40, 50, you will start to feel symptoms of it. And if you don't change some of your habits and behaviors, and some of it can be stress management. So it's not always, we've talked in the last podcast about protein and exercise, and that stuff is really important. But actually, maybe muscle tension is a big issue for you that's going to build with the stresses that come as a result of, once you're in your 40s, you might have career stress, financial stress. I'm not saying we're not as stressed in our 20s and 30s, but I do think to some degree we might be more resilient, or we're able to do more stuff to buffer stress. We can train quite hard. We can party quite hard. We can travel. Do you know what I mean? And then as you get older, life commitments, responsibilities grow. And I think we're suddenly like, you can't go and release some of the negativity or release some of the energy or have a lot of stuff to look forward to. And then as a result, illness starts to develop in those areas of the body. And some people believe that muscle tension is behind most illnesses because it also stops immune system function, because you can't get lymphatic fluid there, you can't get nutrition there.
I would
say, I had the worst calf cramp last night actually in bed.
Did you?
I just remembered it woke me up.
To be fair, you did say yesterday that you your calves were cramping.
It was one of them where it wake it up and it's just about to go.
Oh no.
And then you're like, please don't, please don't, please don't. And you sit up. I'm definitely, so again, dehydrated probably. So I need to just up my electrolytes.
Cramp is not fun.
No.
But we thought this episode we would have a little, I suppose, continue our conversation around aging, because I felt like last episode was just a bit of a.
I still think you didn't think there was many practical takeaways. I still think there was, but
I'm not saying there weren't any.
Maybe we should outline them.
Yeah,
in terms of.
Yeah, that.
Eat more protein, lift some weights, get out.
No, but I think like sleep. We probably did that did a great job of going off some different tangents as we do.
What do we have?
But yeah,
we say after circling back round from like drop and flop pelvic floor to calf cramp.
Just kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
One of the best stretches, by the way, was Happy Baby, the yoga Happy Baby, where you're on your back and you grab hold of your feet.
Yeah.
And then another was Child's Pose. And I was like, why are they all referencing? But again, it's all childlike movements that we did. So as a baby, you kind of know how to look after your pelvic floor more than you do as an adult. But if I walk into the room and you're doing Child's Pose, I'll know that you're dropping and flopping now.
Yeah, there you go. I do that from time to time, though.
I do Child's Pose.
No, sorry, the Happy Baby.
I thought you meant dropping and flopping.
Yeah. I'm always dropping and flopping, me.
Child's Pose is really nice with a massive beanbag at the end of the day, in terms of like you can almost fall asleep and your hips are open. But I've also noticed this about meditation. I've stopped trying to do meditation in sitting upright. It's lotus pose, isn't it? You know,
couldn't tell you.
I've actually started to just pile up a load of pillows in bed and like lying back, and that's how I meditate. And I've been consistent for 8 days now. Yeah,
that's part of your little 30-day challenge.
It was. We have digressed. But I've had one point on meditation. The reason I've been consistent with morning meditations is I don't get out of bed. If I get out of bed, I will find something to do that will mean that I don't meditate. So that's when I said to you, I'm not getting out of bed. I'm just going to pile some pillows up so that I'm literally upright, plug in headphones and meditate. And it's worked. So I've been very consistent. And now I'm doing evening ones because it's like bookending my day has felt really nice. And I'm doing lots of breath work into my pelvic floor.
We have always said, though, haven't we, that like if you can nail your morning and evening routine, like goes such a long way. You know, like the morning routine is obviously setting you up, evening routines bringing you down.
Yeah,
it just makes such a difference.
But this goes back to the aging thing that we're going to talk about today. Is I don't think
are we going to talk about?
Talk about. I know you want to go back to like protein and deadlift, but I want to talk about, and this is something.
Keris, that was very rude.
Well, I think we covered everything. When you said it, I was like, I don't know what we didn't cover. I guess a program. But one thing I wanted to say was, it's really easy. Think about the film This Is 40, where they're in this spin of, he goes into kind of like midlife crisis mode where he's like eating cupcakes out the back door. So like sugar addiction, and then basically cycling for hours with his mates.
Oh yeah, I remember that now.
He's basically dieting and exercising like a mofo to try and like not look 40. And I think it's really easy to get caught up with age as a number and go back to old habits that are like, and we did talk about nutrition and exercise get more important as you age, but they're not the be all and end all, because actually I've had quite a lot of clients who've said that they do, you know, the death math as they hit a big significant birthday. And one of the things we should be thinking about, if we're worried about how much time we've got here, as we've said, it's the quality of that time. And if you just wake up every day and go like a robot into your day, like you always have done, and it's like stress about this, be angry, be negative, rush everything, and just always need someone to look forward to, be at the end of the day, glass of wine or chocolate, whatever, or the weekend, then we're rushing life. And that's, I think, what's been a really powerful takeaway for me is the more I've really focused on slowing down and doing meditations, is trying to slow down my day and make my day last, and try and absorb more of my day and appreciate more of my day and drink in memories. And these are things that you're going to really, really take with you. Do you see what I mean? Like all this stuff. But if you rush everything, you can't do that. It's just really hard. And it's really hard to stop the program running its default, which my default is rush. And then quite a lot of fear, anxiety, worry just kicks in automatically across my day. And that means I eat too fast, and then I eat too much, and then I eat some of the wrong things, or I then rely on exercise for endorphins because my brain's just too busy and anxious. I can't calm it down. So I need a physical outlet. And I think this, again, becomes more important as we age, so that when you are doing a strength training session or you are going for a run, it's for exactly the right reason.
Yep.
And you can follow. How many of your clients do you pretty much almost battle with to follow the program as you write it, and that they feel they need to do more and they want it more intense, and they had a bit more in the tank and they want more and more? If they have more in the tank, they think they should do more.
Yeah.
and used to do it with me a lot. It used to be like, just because you could do 20 intervals doesn't mean that you do 20 intervals. Like half of that's junk reps, isn't it? You call it
junk volume. Yeah,
it's not bringing you any benefit.
No, and to be fair, you know, like I've been guilty of it as well. And I think there's two ways to look at it. I think, like, on the one hand, it's always good to listen to your body, and kind of feel like, in fact, you know, whilst we're on the subject, like last week I did a 12 miler, and I felt really good. As soon as I went out for the run, I was like, God, I feel really good. And I was like holding on to a pace that was actually a good chunk quicker than my marathon target time pace. And I was like, I'm just going to go with it because I feel good. And if I need to dial it back at any point, I'll dial it back. Anyway, I sustained the pace for the whole 12 mile, buzzing, right? But I did get a bit of a rollicking from my running coach because he was like, you know, like too fast. You know, like, and I was like, fair play, like he is right. But truth be told, it wasn't my intention to do that. I just, on this particular day, I just was like, I feel bloody amazing, I'm going to go for it. But there's a difference between doing that occasionally and just because you're like, I feel fantastic, I'm going to go for it, and going, I'm just going to do more because more is better. I'm just going to do more because I hate my body. I'm just going to do more because I drank too much at the weekend. That is not when you do more. No. You know what I mean?
Like it's rested a few days, so now you've got to go hell for leather.
Yeah. And you know, and again, it's why I always say, like using exercise as a weight loss tool is for me, it's not the way to go. I'd rather people not focus on it. I'd rather they're not worry about, fair enough, it burns calories. Yes, it's going to play a role. However, I want people to focus on lifting weights to build muscle, protect their joints, and fuel longevity. I want people to go for a run for their cardiovascular system, for heart and lung health, for their mental well-being. You know, like that's why people, that's the main biggest driver around it. You know, the other stuff should be seen as a Brucey bonus, in my opinion. That's my take. And in fact, I had a conversation with a client of mine recently where they're probably running more than I would like them to, but I know what an amazing impact the running has on their mental health. So it's like, I'm not going to take that away.
No,
because I feel like for me at this moment in time, that is much more important.
You
know what I mean? And you just work around it, you know, and you adapt where you need to, and in time, I'm sure it will no doubt change. But
it's the same. I was going to say, I've had clients where intermittent fasting is offering a certain benefit, and we have a long discussion about it. And I always often say with fasting, it needs to be personalized. But there's some people who will say, you know, absolutely no, because of this, and this, and again, like anabolic resistance and losing muscle, and don't fast for long periods. Or again, it could be, you know, stress and not eating in the morning and things like that might, you know, kind of just upregulate. It can, in terms of however long you go, you are going to upregulate certain hormones that are trying to mobilize energy. So if you're super stressed and fasting and then doing a workout, like it can be too much for the system. But like you said, sometimes the first thing that, you know, if me and you were to go in as a coach and say, yeah, that's not working for you, and they know that they're relying on it at that point in time, it's almost like, no, we've said this before about weight loss, build up the body first, build up the mental health, and then you can decide, does it work for me, does it not? Do I almost have the flexibility, like as in neurologically or neuroplasticity, to experiment with a different way? And it's what we were saying, when you're kind of super stressed and using these tools for the wrong reason, be it body image, fat loss, or like, you know, anxiety, you can't give them up. Like I definitely was there with exercising twice a day at one point, and there was no way anyone could take it off me. And
you nutter.
But over time, and equally, how I don't even want to know how many years I've been trying to meditate properly. And what actually kickstarted this one was falling sick with COVID and getting to a point of, I actually couldn't deal with it. I could feel my brain just going absolutely nuts, in terms of, I didn't know it was COVID initially. I just thought I was having some kind of health flare, and now it floored me. And I was like, I can't deal with this. When we're going to get better? What's happening? Why is my body doing this? And I could feel that upregulating the symptoms. And I started to do some breath work, and I was just really lucky on the Aura app. I found an amazing meditation, and it became this relief from me, as in the annoying me who just overthinks and chatters and overthinks. And I remember thinking that was I managed 5 minutes. That was the nicest 5 minutes of my day, listening to this meditation teacher rather than listening to me. And that's what started me going, right, I'm going to have a bit more of that and a bit more. And I've just built up. And I think I said to you, I managed, I didn't say I was going to do 30 days or anything, but I did it every morning. Then I started doing it at night. Then I started journaling a little bit afterwards. And now I'm on day 8 and I'm starting to expand to 20-minute and 25-minute meditations, which is big for me. Like it's just, especially in the morning. I've managed to do a few at night, but that's more because I'm half asleep. So I'm like, literally snoozing. I managed a 30-minute meditation, but half of it I slept for. So it doesn't count.
Only heard 3 minutes though.
Whereas to stay in bed for 30 minutes and not get on with your day, I find that quite hard, which is why I set myself this, it's not a rule, it's a principle. Don't get out of bed, because at some point Hamish is going to pop in and I'll think, oh, it's a beautiful day, let's get out for a walk, or there's Matt, I'll go and have a cup of tea and chat. And so I just stay there. And now I'm building up to do that for kind of even over 20 minutes. It's hard, but it's helpful. But I think what it is bringing is that just resetting. It kind of goes to Joe Dispenza's book where he's like breaking the habit of being you. Like I feel like, I think a lot of people at mid to late 30s and 40s, you have to kind of stop and get some level of awareness about what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And is this really you? Or have you completely disconnected from yourself and the child that you were and the dreams that you had? And, you know, are you at that age where you're just like, I've fallen into a life and I'm slightly trapped and I don't know how to get out of it. And I'm starting to now run these habits as like a lifeline almost, or a coping mechanism. It's probably better. So like you've said, the running, it could be running, it could be binging, you know, that could be the one thing that gives you an escape from your situation. And that's why it's so hard to lose weight, because you can't face the reality, you know, of where you are and what your life is. And that's when I think meditation becomes really powerful, because one of the other things I've been doing is I guess kind of like revisiting, you know, purpose and why and what do you want to do in the future, and starting to visualize other things. And I think that can be really powerful for people if they're stuck. You're looking at me as if say you've gone off track.
No, I'm just getting lost in your beauty.
Oh, right. you were like, I'm hungry.
No, not talking. Oh, don't say that.
Well, and I did say to you, do you remember I said, this is kind of valid as well. Something that's come out of the meditations is when you go into your day, you look around and you can see like a mirror of how you were. And it's funny because I look at people running, like you've said, and I can see, sometimes I think you see people who look like they love running and they're running for the right reasons. And sometimes you can see people who look like angry runners and they're running because they're almost punishing themselves, or, you know, kind of eating out. You can see people who are sat there like mindfully enjoying a bolus de Berliner or whatever you call it, like with the family and savoring it. And then you can see people who've just over-ordered a load of cake and aren't even tasting it, just, you know, wolfing it down. And you can see it when you take that time to do a bit of a meditation, to connect and go, right, this is what life is. We should have some pleasure foods. We should have some ways to look after our health. We have to brush our teeth. We have to do deadlifts. We have to, do you know what I mean? There are things we should do for sure. And there are things that we should do to indulge and be pleasurable, but we've definitely blurred it into a complete shit show at times. And that, like I said, you could be binging on cake, you could be beasting yourself on a run, and it's all gone a bit wrong.
It's all a form of binging, isn't it? Like
punishment in a way.
You know, like how many people, and you know, you might be guilty of this, or was guilty of this maybe, of like, you know, you miss a day of exercise, so you do 2 classes the next day. I've met so many people that do that, and it's like, but that's not what happens if you miss 3 days. Then you can do 3 workouts in a day, just so you've caught up in your mind, and that's the reality is like we all have forms of comfort. We all have forms of, you know, I suppose like therapy, if you will. You know, we get that little hug from the food, the drink, the exercise. Like it's just a means of making us feel better for whatever reason. And I think, like you just said, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like we should enjoy all of these things, but the key word here is enjoy. You know, enjoy the takeaway, enjoy the pizza, enjoy the beer. You know, enjoy consuming those things with friends or family. You know, but but really bloody enjoy it, you know.
But also, like, even trying to enjoy the gym session, enjoy the run, like, and if the view takes you, stop and take in the view, you know. Or if someone comes and chats to you at the gym, I mean, don't make all your sessions chatty, but
no,
you know, stick to your rest period. But like, try and get social elements to your training, you know, and try to, like you've said, try and enjoy every aspect of what you do, rather than seeing it as, like you said, I mean, it's hard to enjoy brushing your teeth, I'd say. Like, that's probably the one health habit I'm not sure we could add.
I reckon if there's one like daily thing people could go like, if I could get rid of it,
it's the one thing.
It'd probably be brushing the teeth, right?
Do you know what I did? I've started putting
as long as there was no like repercussions. I mean,
sometimes put a bit of TV on, because then I stay longer.
I play Rummy Cub.
Do you?
On my phone whilst I brush my teeth.
You brush your teeth for too long. Like,
no, I don't.
Me and your mum both said that.
Well, what do you guys know?
You got told by the dentist that you overbrush your teeth.
No, I didn't.
You did. What did they say?
They said that I brush too close to the gum.
Right.
And my gums are receding. Bit like your hairline. Shut up. I'm joking. I'm joking. But no, he did. No, when I was younger, I did a lot of damage to my teeth because I was obsessed with clean teeth when I was younger. Right. And I used to brush really aggressively, and I used to essentially brush the enamel off my teeth.
It's quite unique.
I know.
As a kid, be obsessed with
I know, yeah, but I was a weird kid like that. I used to obsess over certain things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like having like a perfectly straight centre parting when I had curtains. That's
enough on Instagram.
That's another podcast.
That's birthday pictures.
But no, I don't brush them for too long now.
Right.
Not with my electric toothbrush. I just take my time, and I'm gentle, and
this is something as you age you should take more care with. Can I just say, but do you know why? Because gum disease is linked to heart disease, but I think soon we're going to see gum disease linked to various different gastrointestinal disorders. It's also a route up. I mean, like, your oral health is a route down into the body through the sublingual route, but there's also lots of ways up into sinuses. And we now know, like, as in back of the throat and things like that, you've got a huge oral microbiome, but we now know that some of the sinus infections and bacterial overgrowth there can cross into the blood-brain barrier and is linked to Alzheimer's and dementia. So it's all very important.
It is.
So brushing your teeth is important, but so is your oral microbiome. So I'd also get a good toothpaste, a decent mouthwash, and try and look after it.
I didn't realise this was a dental appointment.
It's linked to aging. I just said why.
I'm joking.
When you
I do probably take.
I don't give a shout out to Dimples. It's the first time, because we have tried a lot of natural toothpaste, haven't we? Dimples doesn't have all the nasties in it, and actually tastes great and feels like you clean your teeth, because some don't, do they?
No, I agree. I'm a fan, because for some of the others, it's almost like you brush your teeth, but they don't even feel clean.
No, my dentist mentioned it.
Yeah,
and she recommended it, and we were like, okay. And they're really, but there's some good ones but they're like 3 times, 4 times the price of normal toothpaste, aren't they? 4 times.
When are we going to hit big time? So the likes of Dimples would be like, paid for advertisement.
I think you should be their poster boy.
Drink Dimples for that natural, clean smile.
You'd have to brush your teeth and then do that with your pecs.
I can't do it.
Bum.
It's funny. People ask me to do it, and I can't. I have no control. I can make both move, but not. Yeah. To be fair, you if you could do it, that'd go down. If I could do it, there's money to be made here.
I think I told you my granddad used to be able to do it.
Well, to be fair, how someone can contract one over the other, talent, man, talent.
I was just going back to the meditation. This was a valid point that I said to you, that I think there are 3 things that cause a lot of negative health habits and cause people to lose balance with even healthy habits. So you might become extreme about food, like too healthy, orthorexic even is the term, when you're just obsessed with health and very fearful of not following principles and routine. And we see this being a problem now, don't we? There's definitely, I think, social media and increased awareness and biohacking sometimes can cause levels of orthorexia in people who are very vulnerable to that and want to do the right thing and want to look after their family and want to just make sure that everything is perfect. I've definitely gone down that route with you when I was learning about kind of naturopathic nutrition. I was like, the water, the toxins, the chemicals, the mold. I was a nightmare. And actually think I did myself more harm than good. Yeah. And I now see it in people And it's really interesting. This will be the next podcast probably that we talk about, where it's generated so much nervous system stress that people have got sick and are blaming the mold. But actually it's the fear of the mold that probably made them sick. But I said to you, one thing that's kind of become quite clear is, I think anger, suppressed and not expressed, is a big problem for a lot of people. Anxiety, and that was definitely mine, I would say, because I'm quite good at expressing anger when I want to. Although there were some people that I don't, I will admit, there are certain, I guess, like friendships and family where I'm not very good at speaking your truth, essentially, when you're angry, letting it out and expressing it. And another one is apathy. And I think I've gone through phases of that as well. You mentioned it, where you don't care anymore. And I think some of that comes off the back of, it could be stress, illness, it could be exhaustion, overtraining, where you don't care. And those three things are when I think we seek escape. And I think a big one, most of my client base, I would say it's the anxiety more than anything.
Yeah.
That is a problem. And I was really looking, actually, there's a meditation expert, you brought me his meditations for Christmas. His name's Burgs, and he has a lovely song on Spotify.
Yeah, it's nice.
With Mr. Wolf, or MT Wolf it's called, MT Wolf featuring Burgs. And it's really nice. They put his meditation to some really nice music. But I ended up following him and did a few of his meditations, but there's one on his YouTube that's basically anxiety. And I didn't even know that's what it was. I just sat down one day after gardening and I couldn't sit still. So I'd done all my jobs for the day. It was a Saturday afternoon and I was waiting for you. I think you were just working, and I was like, I need to just relax now. Like, just put your feet up. And I sat down and I couldn't. And I was fidgeting and I was like, oh, I'll just go carry on weeding, or I'll just go and cook some dinner. I was trying to give myself jobs to do. And I ended up firing up a meditation, and it was by him. And it basically says, right, don't sit upright, don't be rigid, go and get in a chair that's comfy. And I'm going to talk you through a relaxation process because you're probably anxious. And then it's 25 minutes of him just going, I know you're anxious, and your brain's going like this, and you're saying this. And so you want to be busy and keep doing things to escape the anxiety. And it was the first time I was like, oh gosh, I think a lot of my stuff is more anxiety than I realize, including needing to walk or clean or just be busy all the time. And I always thought, is it slight validation? Is it a little bit like I'm a workaholic? Is it just I'm a busy person I like doing? But sometimes it genuinely comes from not wanting to sit with my worries, I think. So you stay busy.
That's a big one, actually. I think, like, seeking distraction all the time.
Yeah.
Because, and whether that is in the form of, like you say, doing jobs, exercise, alcohol, it's a distraction. It makes you feel good. And
well, like alcohol for anxiety is a major reliever. And that's, again, I've got many clients who say the only time I don't feel anxious is after a couple of glasses of wine, and then I feel human.
And
that again suggests you're upregulated most of the time.
Yeah.
If it takes some kind of sedative to bring you down to normality.
And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? It's being able to identify it. Like, again, we've said it a million times, like, have your pleasure foods, have your alcohol, train, push yourself hard at times, step out your comfort zone. However, like, if it's done in a way where it feels like you're not within control of it, and it's becoming a negative association in terms of, it's your go-to when life gets shit, when things get stressful, when you feel anxious, whatever it might be. Like, we all have stuff going on. And I think it's just creating that awareness around it and going, I'm not going to keep doing that. That's not going to be my go-to every time. I'm going to give myself permission to enjoy those things, to do those things, but there needs to be an alternative way for me to cope in these situations, because there's a good chance they're going to happen again. And sometimes we go through stages where those things happen quite frequently, in which case we definitely don't want those to be our go-tos, like.
That's what I think, some kind of down-regulating practice becomes more important as we age.
Did that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that, but like you said, so if you are sat there and struggling with you know, kind of overeating, over-exercising, drinking too much, smoking, recreational drugs, shopping, promiscuity, like it's like you've said, it's all a form of distraction and escaping the now, and also some people call it a dis-ease, which is a really clever way of saying dis-ease,
right,
because it creates eventually disease.
Yeah.
Especially if one of those habits, smoking and drinking, for example, being the obvious ones, cause harm to the body in excess, then, and the fact that you know that, I think the hardest thing about addiction, and I will like totally like say, I think I just have such an addictive personality, because no matter what I do, I always want more. And luckily for me, things like alcohol cause so many negative reactions that I kind of can't drink that much without it, you know, knackering my sleep, feeling rough and stuff the next day. So I get the repercussions quite quickly. Whereas if I was a good alcohol metabolizer, I'd be in trouble right now. And same with like, I've done the recreational drug stuff, but I would be in trouble, I think, because I feel the kind of warmth of that chemical and that hit, that dopamine, and I just want more of it. And then what happens is that once that's out of your system, the guilt that you feel knowing that you did harm there is, you know, even harder to manage sometimes, which again creates anxiety, and then you go back in for another fix because you just cannot deal with it. And I think it's something definitely, like for me, the morning after effect of, like, if we had a night where we drank too much or whatever, it'd be the morning after I would struggle with the most in terms of the guilt and the symptoms I might suffer. And then the questioning, like, why didn't you do that? Why did you do that? Sorry, like, where's your willpower? Why can't you just, we talked about moderation, didn't we? Why can't you just do moderation? So I think then you're in that cycle. And I think one of the best things for me about doing these regular meditations and finding the right people, it took me a while for sure. But I said to you, I've played a few to you, haven't I? And there's two on the Aura app that I really like. There's a guy called Oliver, and so I wake up with Oliver and I go to bed with Ruben. And both just seem to focus quite a lot on anxiety, but also kind of connection to something greater than you. And there's just some brilliant ones on, you know, kind of relaxation and focusing on the breath. And I think what I've been able to do is, when my mind tries to go back into that cycle of like guilt, shame, anxiety, or worry or fear of future or symptoms that I might be experiencing, especially with my gut, I just come back to breath. And like literally they talk you through it. And there's lots of different visuals. You'll love this one, actually. I'm going to share it with you. But there was one that was called Bird in the Eye of the Storm. And it basically was a visualization. So this is the other thing I was going to say, is I think journaling, meditation, breath work, and visualizations are really powerful. And when I say visualizations, I think these are ways to, one, go back and bathe in memories we've forgotten. That's always lovely. And another is go forward and bathe on and project memory visions of the future that you basically didn't think could happen, but why not? And that's something that's really helped me start to, I think I came back from COVID this time way quicker because I went forward and started to visualize hiking again, and what I'm going to do when I'm better, and what I'm going to write, and what I'm going to, you know, what we're going to do is fit food next, how we're going to help more people. And I started to get energy back straight away. It was really nice. And it made me laugh, because I remember when I was in a really weird place in my life in my 20s, really sad, hated my job, I used to go to spin class and dream of being a spin instructor. Like really dream. It just looked like the best job in the world. In fact, my first spin instructor is now a client of yours, which I love, because she was amazing. Like, she inspired me to enter the fitness industry, end up paying her for personal training. She's my first ever personal trainer. She was the first person to get me to do a push-up and lift weights, and she was my inspiration. So thank you, Gemma, because she's just the reason that we do what we do. Like, I don't think I've even spoken to you, because I only spoke to you because I built my confidence up because I was doing training and strength training, and I felt a bit more at ease in the gym.
See, look at this knock-on effect, man.
There you go. And now, so she's your client, and that's lovely. Anyway, just to go back around, I started to make playlists on my runs of the spin classes that I would teach. Even though I barely said boo to a goose at this point in my life. Like, I didn't speak to anyone in the gym, let alone to teach a spin class. Do you know what I mean? And that eventually came true. But I'd completely forgotten that I did that until I started to read about visualizations in the future and meditations. And that's when, especially if you're in this cycle, again, just to look back on the anxiety, the fear, like, you're constantly projecting negative images of your future, constantly. Like, when will this happen? When will that happen? When will this symptom get worse? How will that, when will I end up in hospital with this? Or, if you're in financial difficulty, when is this going to become like crisis, and for me, and it never works out for me. And it's such a cycle that you get into. And I've really enjoyed doing kind of everything from visualizations to manifestations to believing that my future can change. But just to go back to the eye of the storm, this meditation had this amazing music, which instantly kind of tapped into your nervous system and gives you this, like, honestly, you start to feel like Braveheart or something. And it was about a storm coming. And they were saying, when a storm comes, some of nature know, like hours and days before, and birds will fly or migrate because they know that a hurricane's coming, or animals will go down underground because they know they've got this intuition that a storm is coming. But some birds decide to fly into the eye of the storm and stay there, and they're safe in the eye of the storm. So the eye of the storm is chaotic around them, but they have this like grace and this stillness, and they just ride the eye of the storm.
Wow.
And the music was incredible. And then he's like, visualize this, because this could be you at this point in your life. Like, the storm is going on around you, but you don't have to lose yourself in that. You can come back to your breath, and you can breathe, and you can regulate your nervous system, and you can stay calm, and you can believe the storm will be over. And I was like, that. And he's like, see the bird, watch the bird. And I did. And I was just like, it's just really powerful. And I thought of you, and I think you'd quite like this one. So I'm going to do one with you one night and say, honestly, the music and everything they put to it is just perfect. It's like they know.
Music makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Well, then sometimes they dial it down, and just something like a handpan comes in.
Oh, I love a handpan. I'm determined to.
You've got to learn.
I'm determined to learn Portuguese and how to play the handpan.
And then you could and sing.
No, I'm not fussed about that. I just want to lose myself in the handpan. See if I can make a little side hustle and set up in the square.
What would your first song be?
I don't know, something like, like really realistic, easy to learn. Like
Message in a bottle.
Thomas the Tank Engine or something. Ding 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 ding
ding ding ding ding. That'd be so funny, because you could play that in the square in the village, and everyone would be like, "Oh, it's lovely," but the odd expat would be like, "What is that tune?"
Yeah, I know it. It's on the tip of my tongue.
And they'd be going ding 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 ding.
And I'll build up from there.
All the toddlers would be just swaying.
Yeah. Well, I was going to add something to what you just said, actually, about the visualization. Yeah. So this is a good one, right? Because when I often have conversations with people around, let's say I'm chatting to a potential client, we're talking about their goals and, what they'd like to achieve from working with me. And we then talk about, what they think is stopping them from achieving that, like what barriers are in the way. And oftentimes the one that comes up is themselves, because they start saying, oh, I just don't think I'm going to commit to this. I don't think I'm going to be consistent. I think that, like, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And in a way, like, that's a good thing, because it's like, at least they're they're honest, and they're not kind of always pointing the finger at external factors. Oh, work, family, kids, like, like all these things that kind of everyone, or most people, have to kind of like deal with on a day-to-day basis. But what I really love to do is I get them to visualize, and I say, well, think of this, like, think of like 8 weeks from now, 12 weeks from now, and what you would like to achieve. And then visualize being that, visualize seeing that result, visualize looking back and going, bloody hell, I did it.
Yeah.
I stuck to the plan. I did it, and I feel great, and I love how my body looks, and I'm full of energy, and I'm sleeping better. Like, really visualize it. Visualize that person.
I'd also think of, like, I was going to say, most people doubt their ability to, like, do it and sustain it. But actually, as we just said before, a lot of the reason that you're not able to follow your healthy intentions is anxiety, anger, apathy, or like guilt and shame. But after 8 weeks, especially 8 weeks with you, like Mr. Motivator, a lot of that's gone, because you've been doing the right things and you're feeling better. So without those emotions, you won't repeat those behaviors. And that's, I think, something that's really powerful, that you paint that picture to them, because you're like, well, and it's not that you're painting the picture of, imagine you getting into your favorite dress and twirling around in the mirror. It's not any of that stuff. It's imagine not getting up and having to give yourself shit about what you did the day before. Imagine not fearing the scales. Imagine not fearing your holiday. Imagine not fearing your wardrobe. It's so insane that we do that. Like, there's these punishing things. So imagine all of that going, and then imagine focusing on something epic that you do, because you've got your energy back, you've got your personality back, you're you again, and you're connected, and you have a sense of clarity and purpose. And that's when I just think, like I said, and I feel that the shit show of my health for the last 5 years has helped me really understand that fully. Like, it absolutely has, because I've gone to really dark places where I'm a bit like, I hate everything, and I can't see the wood. I can't see myself I can't see how I'll get out of this now. I've lost all hope, lost faith. I've done everything. I've tried everything. Then I've gone into cycles of like, fuck it, I'm just going to have anything. And then I've gone into the guilt cycle and the shame, you know, now I'm not doing enough. And then I've gone into like, what even is this? And then over time, it's like, I've slowly begun to see the why. And you always say this, you're exactly where you need to be.
Yeah.
At the moment that you're in, like, and
honestly,
really
like,
has started to make sense.
That's been a game changer for me. It's like, you know, like, you're right where you need to be right now. Like, you're meant to be going through this, and in time it will make sense. More sense than it does now. And the thing is, the evidence is there. Like, how many times can you look back in your life and go, this is the worst thing to have ever happened to me? And at the time, it is that. You know, like, you know, and there'll probably be more times where you feel that way. However, like, look where you are now. You know, look at how your life is now. And maybe if you're listening, maybe you're in something as you listen to this. And I just want you to take a moment, if you are, like, to first of all, like, you know, like, show yourself a bit of like compassion here, you know, and like, and look at the other times where you've been in a similar position, maybe not with the thing that's happening, but the emotion, the feelings, and all of that, and remind yourself that you'll get through it. You will get through it. You've got the right people there, and this is something that we keep reinforcing, don't we? You know, like,
but also I think
it's so powerful.
It is important to. I recently did a couple of courses on like nervous system self-regulation, because I was like, okay, if this is the root of my gut issues that just no one can make sense of, then I'm going to go and learn from these experts, which I did. But they got to a point where it was like, we often say this, how many books on weight loss are you going to buy, or diets, or exercise? Do you know what I mean? How many gym memberships to sign up to, and don't do it? And the thing was, I was learning all this information, and it was kind of going in, but I wasn't taking action. And the action needed to be do the thing, which was do the breath work, do the meditation, do the visualizations, take time out of your day. Stop saying you don't have time, and then spending a lot of time trying to, you know, work on your health issues. Do you see what I mean? Like appointments or research or Googling or whatever I was doing. It's like, how can I say I haven't got time? And I'm here on Google, you know, like looking up this thing and this latest probiotic or whatever it might be. But I haven't done breath work today, and even tried to see if my body has the intuition to fix itself. And I think it is really important, and that's why I would say have compassion to self, for sure. But if you are repeating behaviors over and over again that aren't serving you, and then in that cycle of guilt and shame and anxiety, then go and work with somebody. Like, you know, work with you, work with me, whoever. Just go and work with somebody who is going to help you stay accountable, because I have a coach, you have a coach, we have coaches for different things, because we know you can even justify it at the time and go, yeah, but I'm having a bit of compassion to self, I'm going to have this chocolate. And then it's like, okay, right, I've eaten too much of that chocolate, I feel a bit sick now. But compassion to self, you know, you're like, I mean, I'm in a hard time in my life, so I can eat the chocolate, but now, okay, now my blood sugars are too high. Okay, so I've been a bit too compassionate with myself. And so you don't want to have the negative impacts on your health. And that's why I think work with a coach if you need to, because it will be worth its weight in gold in terms of pulling you out of that, I guess, that just place where you're not, you know you need to do it, but maybe you're too fearful to do it. And I do think we get scared and stay in our comfort zone.
100%. Like, and I think that's the beauty, I think, of working with someone, you know, where like when I work with people, like I'm not there just going, oh, eat this much protein, get this many steps per day, and here's your workouts. Like, if anything, like that's the little bit that's kind of like sprinkled in between stuff. Like it's, that provides an element of structure. It provides an element of like routine and focus, and that's great, and we need that. However, the big work comes in the coaching, comes in the, okay, how do we take what you should be doing and getting you to do it on a more consistent basis? And that normally starts with identifying why you make the decisions you do in, during certain circumstances and certain emotions and certain feelings, and that's where we want to connect the dots and then try and work on those behavior patterns. Because most people I work with now, they are clued up, Matt. Like, they know what nutrition is. They know what makes them feel good. They know what exercise they enjoy. They can connect the dots themselves and go, I feel really good when I do X, Y, and Z. But
I was going to say, it's easy to become, it's not a victim, that's the wrong word. I was going to say victim of circumstance, but we had really similar weeks where we were both coaching clients on how to eat at a service station. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And, I had a client who was going to look after an elderly relative, which was like a really, really hard day, long round trip. And like, lots of emotion around that. It's a really hard situation. And you had the same thing, a client who was basically running kids to football matches, really important, but exhausting and very selfless, both very selfless, amazing individuals. But of course, there's an element to which, one, you just grab and go, two, you want something tasty, and three, I think at the end of the day, like, it's just a case of like, I just want a bit of a reward, man, for giving up my entire day, And I love that I've done that. I'm so proud of myself, but it's there's not much self-care going on there, I guess, is the situation. And I think, we both said, I think one day I was like, I think I'd said it. I said, I think I need to do a guide to eating at a service station and the best choices, or like car nutrition, which I have done before. I've written articles for, just not on our website, but we've written about, what's having the car, because we do that. We generally will pack, like we know we can be nightmares about if we're, I guess
tin of sardines in the glove box.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? We do have the external pressure of turning up to a nutrition talk for many of our long drives, don't we?
Yeah.
It's not like we can turn up with like, kind of cheesy Wotsits around our mouth or something.
In a massive carb crash.
Yeah, exactly.
Carb crash.
Carb crash. You've got your carb brain on. So I think we started to, especially when we were first releasing our books, we traveled a lot, didn't we, with talks, and we got really good at, like you said, like we packed, tin fish and trail mix and dark chocolate, and we just knew what to have. And then at a service station, we'd be like, oh, you can get this, you can get that, but if you can't, luckily there's now Marks and Spencer supermarkets and things like that, so you can grab stuff that's not too bad. But again, what I'd say is, like, for a lot of people, it's just, right, this week we've got this journey, so put this in the car, and if you stop here, there's this at the service station, and then, but when you get home, do you want a glass of wine, have a glass of wine, but have it when you enjoy it mindfully. Don't just shove it down driving. And we've got better with that. Even we often say, like, we got to a point with coffee where we were just going so crazy with it, weren't we? And just having, you forget you're being filmed, you're trying to talk to the dog.
I know.
You can see him. The dog. But yeah, like with coffee, even, where we just started having too much, and you couldn't even taste it in the end. I mean, you just like, it's coffee, it's more coffee, it's more coffee. And then when I've gone through phases of cutting it out and then just added one back in and sat there and really enjoyed it mindfully, I've just loved it and been like, I don't want another one now. And you can do the same with a lot of those things, but we have to almost recalibrate our relationship with it and stop just shoving it down and not registering it and enjoying it and tasting it and not having it in the, I guess there are negative circumstances where we go, we need a glass of wine, but try not to make that the default time that you have it. And, also try to celebrate in other ways. I think that's also really important, don't you?
100%. And like, like, again, it's not always the action, it's the knock-on effects as well, isn't it? It's like, if you do indulge in food, if you do indulge in drink, it's like, well, what's that going to do for you the day after? Are you then going to feel guilty? Are you going to feel low? Are you going to feel like you need to smash an extra hard gym session or or double up because you ate too much, or are you then going to give yourself a hard time because in your mind you failed once again, you haven't done what you intended to do, and that was to go however long without booze, whatever. And this is the problem, guys. It's like it's not even the thing, it's the knock-on effect. And this is why, like, we often work on what we call the bounce back rate. It's like, how quickly can you bounce back? Okay, you didn't intend to indulge, but you did. Okay, it is what it is. It's done. Can't change it. Just let's focus on bouncing back quickly instead of writing off the next day, instead of writing off the week, starting again on Monday, all that bollocks. Like, let's just be like, right, okay, do you know what? It's happened. I'm gonna bounce back quickly. My next meal is going to be a good one. I'm not going to change my training because I indulged. It's just going to be what I set out to do.
So, did we say this? I'm sure on a previous one, like one meal, one walk, one workout away from a better choice.
And you're back in the game.
Don't give yourself crap, and don't, just get on with it and do the next, the next thing that makes you feel good. But I was also going to say,
focus on your next decision.
That's come up with a few of my clients is you do get stuck in these, because of, I think the dieting messages have been around since the 80s. So some of my clients who are 50, 60, 70, they go into these, like they repeat old patterns sometimes of, especially I think social media gets a bit confusing with it's all about calories. It's all about intermittent fasting. It's all about one thing. And it never is. These are tools that we put together to make a kind of routine that works for you, that feels enjoyable and sustainable. But it's very easy to be misled by, a video here or a video there, or some kind of like, very well marketed new concept when it comes to weight loss, especially. And people fall into habits. And we said this, the more extreme it seems, the more appealing it seems. And the quicker it seems, the more appealing it seems. But yet we know from decades of this stuff, it just doesn't work. And the best studies on weight loss, there's like the 10-year, I think it was like a 10-year look ahead study, it is basically habit based. So small changes repeated frequently, usually with check-ins. So there's some level of accountability. And that seems to be the most effective way to lose, especially if you have a significant amount of weight to lose for a health reason. But it is just really, especially because I've been coaching clients over the summer, that some have gone on holiday and indulged, or some have got holidays coming up, and they have gone right back to like, I'm going to do keto, I'm going to do carnivore, I'm going to do intermittent fasting. And what's really interesting is they're lasting about 2 days now. And I keep saying, and then they've reached out and went, I decided to do a keto fast Monday, Tuesday after a barbecue at the weekend, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, just needed a healthy breakfast on Monday. That's all we needed. And weight wise, it wouldn't have made that much of a difference. And now what's going to happen is, and I explained this to a client this week, I said, the more you keep doing this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, extreme reaction to what happened over the weekend, the more you're going to upregulate your desire for food reward. So you're depriving and punishing yourself, which means that your brain's going, but at the weekend, this is going to happen. We get to Friday, we'll have this. And soon, once we've got the scales down to this weight, we'll have this. And then it's like the floodgates open and there's no off switch. Do you know what I mean? And I think that is when I try and explain that if we just got back to, like you said, a really good breakfast on a Monday morning and a brisk walk if you were feeling a bit hungover or whatever, but then back to the gym Tuesday, like the competency of that is so powerful. And the less shit you give yourself, the less guilt, the less shame, the less likely you are to overeat and make different choices, choices that aren't so great for you. And the more likely you are to stick with it and make so much progress with the emotional side of weight loss, the bit that's going to make it consistent and sustainable, essentially.
Love that. And a really good point to end on, I think. Because
was that, we didn't really do aging.
No, we didn't. There was a bit in there somewhere, but the rest was absolute gold. So
I'll just let you do the next one, and you can do aging. As you're nearly 40.
I believe value was added.
Good.
That's the most important thing. In fact, just to wrap up, guys, like tying in with much of what Keris just said and something I said earlier about, like, when you have your goals and you have your vision of what it's going to look like to achieve that, and this can be for absolutely anything. Is like, then once you've kind of really attached to that feeling and you get a really good picture of it, then start to think about like the person you need to become to achieve that. And that then makes it so much more empowering. It's not negative. It's not saying there's anything wrong with the person you are necessarily. It's about just kind of like bringing out certain parts of you a little bit more, and helping you become that person that you need to be to get to achieve the result that you want to achieve. So maybe that's good exercise for you to do. You know, really think about that goal, really see it, feel it, you know, like close your eyes for a moment, take yourself there, you've achieved it, and then backtrack and visualize the person that you need to become.
It's also the James Clear from Atomic Habits always says, what would a healthy person do?
Yeah.
You know, in situations like ordering food. But I'd also say you could switch that and say, if you're someone who's trying to be too extreme, what would a healthy person do? Well, they just have a normal breakfast right now. They just have one glass of wine right now. So it might just help with the moderation and the balance. No.
I'm joking.
No. They do hair of the dog right now. What would a healthy person do? Always be topped up on alcohol.
Well, funny enough though, like today I went for a run, and off the back of literally I had an unintentional week off, 5 days off training, because like I had a break for my birthday, blah blah blah, and then I was a bit busy on the day before we went away, and like I was just like, it is what it is. Didn't train whilst I was away, didn't feel an urge to run further, run faster than I was intended on doing so today. I just got back into the groove, got back into my plan, you know, and already I feel better. Like today, it's like, you know, got up, had my coffee, went for a run,
job done
before the sun, because it gets bloody hot, and I'm like, boom, jobs are good.
Back to healthy, Matt.
That's it. Back in the game, people. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Episode 195 next.
Yep.
My God, I look forward to getting to the 200 milestone.
Yeah.
Big love, people. As always, any questions, please do give us a shout. But until next time, toodles. Bye.